Welcome, everybody. Yay. So, if you don't know who I am, I'm Wendy Lee, and you can find me at CreativeLeeYours.com. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. So, we're going to take a moment. It's about, let's see, 11:33 a.m. Eastern Time. And again, I love that we have people from all over the world. Like, I never thought that would be possible. It's the only thing about tech that I love is that we've got people from literally all over. It amazes me. I love the crafty community that we've got here. So, all right, so what are we going to do today? So, I'm going to share with you. We're going to share the joy of and love of paper crafting. Yay. We're going to relax a little bit. We're going to have a little fun, get our endorphins going. And the best part is that you can take the projects that you create and share those with other and bring that same joy to them, which is amazing, right? So I have been a demonstrator for about 22 years, if my math is correct, full-time since November 1st of 2019, which is not typical. Not many people do this full-time, but I do. It's how my family eats, how I pay my house payment, right? So I am married to a wonderful and super supportive man. His name is Mike, if you don't already know him. And I have two grown adult children. Very proud of both of them. And they have their whole families and all that fun stuff. And I have two super cute granddaughters. Love them both. Yes. All right. So let's see. My daughter lives about an hour away. And you may hear some excessive dog barking at some point today because not only do we have our two pups, we have her four dogs because she is getting ready to put her house up on the market. So we have been asked to not house it, dog sit. So it's a little crazy, extra crazy here. And then my son is in Hawaii and he's in the Navy. So he'll be there for maybe another 3 years or so. So I have to go back to Hawaii, right? Oh, good stuff. So normally what we're doing here today would be kind of a home party, right? Somebody would host it. They would invite all their friends. I would come in, I would teach the projects with the best products, right? Stampin' Up! Can't go wrong with that. The host would keep the samples I make and then earn rewards based on the orders of that evening, right? So today, I lost my cheat sheet here. Today, I am my own host, right? So I'm giving the rewards back to you as part of the ordering special. So that's how that all works. So I do have it. Let's see, minimize this so I can tell you the right thing. So I've already got links to catalogs posted in the group. So you might have to scroll a bit. I didn't repost them this time, so they've been posted for a bit. Um, if you have a hard copy, you might want to have that close by, or the online store, right? The online store really has everything in it, and not everything is in our catalogs anymore. And that is the trend of the future. So we can learn to adjust, right? I've already posted the host code, and thank you to those that have already placed your orders. So I'm giving back the host rewards in my order special. That's how I'm doing it. Hopefully that makes sense. So you do have to use the host code when you place your order to take advantage of the special. So what is the special? So I'm making this work because we have a global community here. So I have a special for my US friends who can shop with me, and I have a special for my international friends who cannot shop products with me, but they can shop in my tutorial store. So any order that is placed, I'm going to talk US first. Any order that is placed, you're going to get a card in the mail with me, along with the PDF tutorials for today's workshop, right? If you don't use the host code, when I send you the thank you email, I won't mention that you've earned the online order special or the workshop special. So if I don't say that and you intended it to be for this, reach back out to me so that we get you all squared away. I don't want anybody to miss the special that wanted to do the special. If your order hits $50 or greater, you are going to get the packets to make today's projects, right? I've already cut it. It's ready to go out for you. The only thing that is not cut for you or pre-cut for you is the labels that we're going to use, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But there's cardstock and everything in there. Everything else is ready for you. And of course, you'll get the PDF tutorial. And if, since your order is $50 or greater, you're also going to get this month's All-Star Video Class Tutorial Bundle, which is the Mixed Media Florals, which we're using today. So you'll have 12 additional fantastic ideas to use. All right, so for my international friends, you can shop with me in my online tutorial store. If your order is $35 or greater, you're going to get the tutorials for today for free. And if it hits $50, you'll also get the All-Star tutorial. So that's what's going on with that. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and we'll circle back with all of that. So, all right, should we get ready for our crafty fun? Let's switch the camera over. Yay! I'm so ready. Hope you guys are ready. All right, now I will tell you, if you're new here, you may not be aware of this already. If you've joined me before, you probably are. So my camera has a mind of its own, and it will tend to zoom in and out and do crazy things. It is what it is. I am working with Zoom. There is still no resolution because everything they've had me try does not work. So it is what it is, and we'll do the best we can. Hopefully it's going to behave. I played with it a little bit more today in hopes that I would have some good luck. But I did not have good luck. So we'll see how this all plays out. But all right. So we are using the Mixed Florals stamp set. Now, if you don't have this stamp set, it's fine. You can create these projects with any floral stamp set you have. Can you use something other than florals? Of course you can. But I am ready for spring, right? And I love these because they're large images and they call to me to watercolor or to color with blends or whatnot. But I'm going to show you some other ways to create with these as well. We do have a watercolor project that I'm going to show you in just a moment, but the other projects are not watercolored, but you can watercolor with this. So this is actually part of our online exclusive product. It's called the Mixed Media Florals suite. And so there's lots of great products in that. Now there's a companion stamp set called Mixed Labels. We are using the sentiments from this today and the dies from this to cut out our sentiments. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. So oh, you want to see the projects, right? Good grief, Wendy. All right. Let's move this out of our way. And here are the projects we're going to create. So taking advantage of our designer paper on this first one. This one, we're going to do a little heat embossing in the background, just to add a little interest to our card base. And then this one's going to be a fun split. And you could do this in any color combination. And then the fourth is this one. Oh, there we go. There goes the camera. Let's see if I can get it to reset. There we go. All right. So this one right here, I actually showed this one, demonstrated this one in my weekly YouTube premiere on Tuesday. Oh, here we go again. It's going to, let's see if I can get it to reset one more time. Is it going to do it? Yeah, I wish it would stay out, right? Maybe if I don't grab the card, it'll stay out more. So this watercolored one I showed on Tuesday and taught how to do it on Tuesday. Because it's watercolored, it takes quite a bit longer. And I want to try to get us down to this event being about an hour so that you guys don't have to leave, right? Like you can still leave if you want to leave. But I'm trying to get it so that if you're on your lunch break or, you know, if you're trying to do some other things at the same time that we're not so long. So the one thing I want to talk about this project here. So it's a little fun fold, easy split front, right? But we've watercolored on regular cardstock, first of all, and it's petal pink. So it gives it a really different feel. I'm okay if it zooms in on this one, right? Just to show you how cool this is. So the key with this is not much water, right? Like you can watercolor on watercolor paper and use a ton of water and oh good God, that's gonna make me nuts. Let's see if we can reset it again. And not use a ton or can use a ton of water and really let that watercolor paper do fantastic things with the blending and everything. So this is a drier version, but I think it's fantastic and a really cool way to use this. So your packets, if you earn the Make and Take packets, will include this project, but we're not going to make this one today. Okay. This video is on my YouTube channel already from Tuesday, and I'll share a link in this group so you'll have it. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll get out of the way. So the first one we're going to do today is this one right here. Okay. So this is a fast, easy, we're taking advantage of this designer series paper. So we have lots of great designer papers at Stampin' Up. Like I love, 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 love the Stampin' Up designer papers. So this is the print. This is what the paper looks like when it's whole, right? So it's a bordered type paper. So I'm cutting this so that I've got strips. And so you're going to get this corner, you'll get the middle, or you'll get this corner. And same thing on the other end, because it's the same, right? But we have lots of fun papers that do this kind of thing with. And I think that this layout works very, very well with that. Okay. So first thing I want to do is let's pull in our designer series paper. So I will tell you guys measurements. Oh, I hope this stops zooming in and out. It's terrible. I am so sorry. It seems like it's getting worse and not better. I've tried turning off the setting that does that automation, but it bows my it bows this surface and everything's so distorted. It's making me batty. But anyway, all right. So I will tell you guys measurements as we go. If I miss something and you have a question, please let me know. And I will try to go back and look at comments because I can see one comment at a time and they go by really, really quickly as I'm doing this. So we'll bear with me. All right. So this is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but I have this cut and every other panel raised. I just think that that added a really nice touch to give it some dimension. Yeah, the camera may not like the grid lines. That could be making it worse. You're right. It definitely could be making it worse. It is good for close-ups when you want it to, yeah. But when you don't want it to, not so fun. All right, so let's see. It's not closing up on the right thing. Let's see if I can get it to reset again. I want it to come back on my trimmer. All right, so we're gonna cut. Let me move the card out of the way while we do this. Maybe it'll focus on what I'm doing. No, it went over to the card. All right, maybe it'll stay there. We'll see. We'll see what it does. Okay, so like I said, 3 3/4 by 5. We're off to a little bit of a rough start. Oh, no. 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. I apologize. I have this layered. 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. So if you cut this, just cut an eighth off, or you can leave it and then just make the next layer bigger. It's fine too. So I want to cut this into strips. Okay. So I'm going to take the top one and I'm going to put it at 1 3/4 inch. And I'm going to give this a cut. Okay. I want to keep these in order. So I'm just going to set them next to me. So after that, I want to do 1 3/8. So 1 3/8. Okay. Now, the width of these really doesn't matter. You can do these any width you want to. Now, this last one, I'm going to do 1 inch. And so that's going to leave me a 3/4 inch strip. Again, you can cut these any width you want. So that's what we've got right here. We're going to piece that back together as we work on our project. Okay. So let's grab this layer and I want my Memento ink pad. Yay, I did remember it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, right? All right, and we are going to stamp this sentiment. So glad we're friends. And look, I've trimmed mine away. Can you see? So my stamp was actually really skewed on the rubber, and I was catching so much of an edge, I just cut it off and started over. So cut off some of the sticker. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's really not a big deal. So I'm somewhat centering it on this layer best that I can, using my block as a guide because I set my stamp up so that it would fit, right? Got to do that ahead of time. Okay. So this is going to be so fast and easy. So you can see I ended up with a piece that had the border over here where my original had the border on the other side, right? So I'm able to shift that as need be. Okay, So let's bring in a piece of Misty Moonlight. This is my 3 3/4 by 5. So if you cut this 3 3 3/4 by 5, just make this a bigger, like 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, or you could do a wider border. I like skinny borders. If you don't like skinny borders, then adjust yours, okay? All right, now I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to put my first piece down with some Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to go flat, right? So let's go ahead and lay this right here at the bottom. Okay, so see, and I've got that skinny border around my edge there. Good, does that make sense? I hope it all makes sense. Now, I'm going to take my next strip. This one I want to pop up. I want to give some depth, dimension, some height to this. Now, if you don't want to pop yours up, you don't have to pop yours up. You didn't even have to split it if you didn't want to split it. Like I said, it's entirely up to you on what you want to do. You could layer some cardstock under it instead of doing dimensionals if you didn't want quite that much height. So I'm just butting them together and letting that be a little bit raised. So isn't that cool? I think it's cool, personally. All right, we're going to take our next strip and we are going to put this down flat. Okay. And again, I'm just putting my print back together. Okay, and then we've got one more. Perfect. I love it, I love it, I love it. Now, if you're new to me and you're like, why are your dimensionals colored purple? You might think they're pink. I think they're purple. It is because as I've aged, my eyesight is not as good as it once was. So I color them so I can see when I remove the backing paper. And you're like, well, you could see it, it's shiny. Well, you would think, but I actually wasn't able to see it very well. No matter what my lighting was, I still was struggling with it. So what I did was I color it with a highlighter. Now, I found out recently, I've had a few comments where people are like, well, my highlighter doesn't stick to it. And I'm like, well, okay, I don't have that problem. But I am using everything from Stampin' Up, and I'm finding other brands are different, right? They're not the same. So the backing on those won't color as easily. So anyway, cool, right? I think it's just amazing. Makes me happy. All right, let's bring in our Mossy Meadow card base. So this is 4 1/4 by 11. And we're going to fold this in half. If I can find my bone folder. Oh, totally hit the camera. Oh, you've been using that tip? I'm so glad. It makes it better. Yes, I agree. 100%. I make a lot of cards. So you'd be like, oh, it's no big deal. Because I was checking and checking and checking. And then when I wouldn't double check, triple check, quadruple check, I would forget to take the backing paper off and my card would fall apart, right? All right, so we can choose to center this, but I'm not going to. I'm going to butt it against this bottom edge and center it top to bottom. Just to offset it a little bit. Just gives it a little different feel to it, right? I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so then I've got a piece of basic white, 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. So it's the same size as my designer paper was. And then I've got another strip of the leftover from the designer paper. I'm going to flip it to the back and bring in that lovely blueprint. And this is 3 5/8 by 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to adhere this to the bottom. I like to bring the design to the inside whenever I can, because I think it adds an extra special touch, right? We're already putting in the effort to make a handmade card. And so to me, adding that extra special touch is important. Now, you could add a sentiment. You could stamp something else in here, and I would do that before I probably glued this down, right? Because if you mess up, then you can flip it over, right? And that gives us double the chances. All right, so I'm going to put this on the inside so we can center it, or we can put it over to the side. I'm going to put it over to the side, just like I did the front, because to me, that's part of bringing that design to the inside, is doing that layout very similar to what I've got on the outside. So I'm just going to smooth that down, make sure I'm all happy. So there's my inside and then my front. Now, I used on the original, and what I've got in the supply list are these bee trinkets. I love these. I'll put a bee trinket on this one, but the other cards I'm going to switch because I don't have any more. I'm out, and they're not orderable right now. At least they weren't yesterday. I didn't check this morning. At least in the US. They might be in other markets, but in the US they're not. So to use these, I like to use liquid glue with this, even though you know I'm not a huge liquid glue fan. But I'm going to put a dot of liquid glue. I actually prefer it to sit a bit before I use it, but for the sake of time, I won't do that. I'm going to grab one of my bee trinkets and I'm going to lay it down in that liquid glue. Well, if I can get it off take your pick. That's sticky. All right, and you can turn him however you want to turn him or her, right? And so I think that just really finishes the card super nicely, right? How beautiful is that? That's a great spring card to send. And you can make stacks and stacks. Oh, yep, let's zoom in and see all the details. You can make stacks and stacks of these, and it adds just a little extra interest because we've cut those strips. All right, so here it is that way or this way. Nice. I hope you guys like that one. Fast and easy. Good. All right. Let's see if we can get the camera to reset. We're going to bring in the next one. Oh, it wants you to see my toes. Oh, and my messy workspace. That's nice. Nice. Oh, good gracious. All right. For our next one. So this one, I wanted to bring in the stamps and just a touch of the designer paper. And I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a little bit of this gold woven trim in here, which we'll use, and my sentiment label on there. And then for the inside, we brought the design to the inside as well, kept it super simple, and let that designer paper give us our pop of color or interest on our solid card base here. So this is Flirty Flamingo. And I'm doing 4¼ by 11, and we're going to fold this in half. Now, you could put a layer on the front of this if you prefer. I did not, and I think it's okay. Now, since we're going to emboss, and I'm going to emboss in clear, I'm going to drop my buddy on there. I want lots of good powder. I'm going to spread that all over my card front. Nice. All right, we'll throw that to the side. Let me grab my stamp. So I'm using this, kind of looks daisy-like. Somebody said it's a cone flower. I don't know my flowers, I will admit it. So if you know the right name, let me know. But I've heard it's called a cone flower. Whatever that is, to me, that's a daisy. But maybe it's not a daisy. So I'm calling it what I think it's supposed to be. All right, so I'm going to stamp my first one along the edge here. Now, you can stamp it off the edge if you want. It's entirely up to you. And I'm going to give this a good push. Now, because this is a large photopolymer stamp, you could end up having some issues with some space that doesn't stamp. And if that's the case, put a foam pad underneath it, right? Sometimes with a larger stamp, you need a foam pad. Now, I'm finding with this glass mat, I've got enough give that I'm okay. Now, when I'm heat embossing, I like to make sure I have a nice juicy ink pad. So I did re-ink my Versamark pad. If you didn't, I'll show you my Versamark pad in case I didn't let you see it. I have my yucky one I'm using today. So this is the one I use for different techniques. I could use it for regular stamping as well, obviously, but see, it's yucky. Yucky, 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 but that's okay. All good. Yeah, cone flower. Okay, good. Yeah. I think that's what it's called as well. All right, so let's bring in our clear embossing powder. Now, I toss my embossing powders in a plastic container only because I like that. It works well for me. And then I don't have to fight the jars. So we dipped it in, shake off our excess. Let's get the other end in. I forgot to grab a spoon, so we're just going to dip. And I was afraid if I did it the other way, I'd make too big of a mess. All right, so I think I've got my excess powder all off of there. We're going to set this aside, and I have to put the lid back on because otherwise I will knock it off and I won't know what is what color. Now, you want to make sure when you're heat embossing, you want to make sure your heat tool is good and warm. So I'm going to turn it on while we're talking. Oh, good. I'm glad you like the stamp set. Yeah, I do as well. It's one of my favorites. You know, I like it because it's so large, right? And you could do so much with it. All right, my heat tool is nice and hot. And then I'm going to bring this right to my cardstock. I'm going to hold it inch and a half away, and we can watch the magic happen. Clear embossing is really easy to see as it's melting. Hopefully the camera won't keep zooming in. There we go. So we will just work on this. So just as it melts, just move it down your image. You just want to melt the powder till it turns shiny. You don't want to overheat it. If you overheat it, it'll turn dull. It could scorch the paper. It could flame up if you really overdo it. And if your heat tool is nice and hot, it won't warp your paper as much as it would if it wasn't nice and hot. Does that make sense? I know some people have said they have some trouble with that. So I didn't really get much warping on my paper. A little bit of bow, but not too bad. So this is where if you wanted, come on. If you wanted to add a layer to kind of help with that warping, you could. Now, normally if I was going to have a warped piece of paper, I could run this through oh good gosh, Wendy, I could iron it right on a low heat setting. I like to put it between paper towels, but since it's heat embossed, get off all this extra powder here, make a mess. Since it's heat embossed, I don't want to do that. I've heard people will run it through their embossing machine to try to help flatten it. That has not worked for me personally, but it might for you. You never know. All right, so let's bring in our designer series paper strip. So I've got a piece that is 3½ inches long by 1 inch wide. Okay. Now I do want to dimension this up, so I'm going to go ahead and put dimensionals on this. And I'm going to be a little excessive with my dimensionals on this because I want it to be nice and sturdy. Now you could do foam adhesive, right? Like we've got the sheets that are foam adhesive, and then you can cut off exactly what you wanted. If you wanted to do that instead. Again, you could use layers of cardstock if you prefer, not to have quite so much height and a little more stability. Entirely up to you. So I'm just going to place this across somewhat the center of my card. I'm a little up from center, but I kind of like that positioning right there. And then I've got a piece of this lovely gold mesh trim. I think this is gorgeous. Let's see if I can have you guys see it a little bit better. Can you see it better on the glass? Maybe better on the cardstock. Anyway, I love it. It's gorgeous. It's lightweight. It ties super, super good. You want about 3½ inches. So I'm going to just lay it over the top of this designer paper and clip off a piece. And then I'll save the rest for the next card. Okay. So that's going to just adhere right down on that designer paper. Could we have done that while it was still flat? Sure. Sure. That might have been easier. But that didn't bother me at all. And I don't mind it wider than the paper. I think that's kind of nice. If that bothers you, you could kind of squish it in, right? Like it's so lightweight that you can kind of push it in if you wanted to. I don't know. I kind of like it just how it is. All right, let's stamp our sentiment next. So I've already die cut my label with the mixed labels dies here, and then we're going to stamp our sentiment in Memento Black. We're keeping it super simple. Hear the dogs? I hope not, but they're a little crazy right now for who knows what. All right, let's see if I can get this on here somewhat straight and centered. I'm gonna go there. Let's see what happens. Ooh, not bad. I'll take it. I have to say, as I've aged, using red rubber is harder for sentiments for me. Anybody else having the same situation? All right, let's grab some dimensionals because of course I want to dimension my label up. Now, if that's too much height for you, don't do it, right? We're going to just clip this. Hopefully it will stop zooming in. Yeah, I've got to get this resolved. It's making me crazy. All right, so clipped all around the edges. So now I can use all of these. Okay, so I'm just going to slide that right there on my card front here. Cute. So let's bring this design to the inside. So I've got a piece of basic white, 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then another strip of that same print that is 4 inches by 1 inch. And of course, you can do the width of that strip whatever you want it to be. It can be wider, it can be narrower, entirely up to you. And then I'm going to place this at the bottom. Again, just a really easy way to bring that design inside. And I've chosen not to add an additional sentiment to the inside, at least at this point. Okay, and we are going to go ahead and adhere this layer right down in here with our Stampin' Seal. Perfect, and we are good to go with that. Now, because I'm almost out of bee trinkets, I'm going to pull in my brushed brass butterflies. Say that fast. Ooh, that's a tongue twister in itself. So I'm just going to use a little butterfly. Actually, I'm going to use the big one. And add this right onto, well, I say I'm going to, maybe I need to use this end. There we go. Because I cut that into a strip, it's harder to get off. That's why I was not using my putty end. So we'll just put the butterfly on there versus the cute little bee. It's a cute butterfly. So either one would work, right? So your packets, if I didn't say that already, your packets are going to have the butterfly in it versus the bee because I am out of bees, right? And I can't order anymore right now. So cute. Card number 2, fast and easy. But I think it packs a big punch. And you could do this in any color to coordinate with whatever designer paper you're using. Good. You like the card base? Good. Thank you. I like it too. All right. So our third project we're going to work on is this one. I love this. I love this black-white contrast. And I just think it adds a really cool perspective. And it doesn't have to be black and white, but I chose a black and white print from the designer series paper. So you could do it in any color combination you want to do it in, but this is what I've chosen to do. So you will want your stamp positioning tool. So I'm going to pull my stamp positioning tool in. And yes, I am still using my Stamparatus because I have it. We do not sell this any longer. However, I did put a link. I recommend the Misty if you don't have a stamp positioning tool yet and need one. I recommend the Misty. I do have a link to it in my Amazon, my favorite things shop in the video description. So it doesn't matter if you start with the black piece or the white piece. I'm going to do the same thing on both. So I'm going to lay this down in my stamp positioning tool. Okay, I'm going to take my embossing buddy to it. And I may have to reposition because I probably should have done that first, but we'll see how this goes. All right, so I've got lots of embossing buddy on there. Okay. We are going to ink this image up with our Versamark ink. Okay. Again, I've got a nice juicy ink pad to do this with. Okay. And then I'm just going to close this right down on here. And then I got my pressure tool. So this looks like an air hockey puck. I have this in my favorite things on my Amazon shop as well if you need one. It just helps me put even pressure over the top of the stamp when I'm using my stamp positioning tool. So I like it for that purpose. All right, so now I can pull this stamped image right out of there. I don't know if you guys can see that stamped on there. And I'm going to heat emboss this in white on the black one, okay? So let's grab our white embossing powder. See if we can do this without making too big of a mess. Just scoop and cover. Shake off that excess. And scoop and cover. There we go. So there is our stamped paper. Let's get our heat tool hot again. Oh, good. You guys are liking it? Yay! I like it too. All right. So let's get this one embossed. So same thing. I don't know if you'll be able to see the white as easily as you could see the clear, but we're doing the same thing. We're just slowly moving it as it works itself around the image so that we're melting our powder, but not over melting our powder. And again, you can do this with any floral stamps that you've got. To me, it works great with large images, but if you don't have a very large image, you can use it with what you have. Your scale might be a little bit different than mine. And in the All-Star tutorial, I got another variation of this techniques. Cute, cute. All right. So that is our black layer. We're going to repeat this on the white layer. So let's bring that in. Bring back in our stamp positioning tool. So I'm going to be able to get 2 cards from this one. So let's get our buddy all over this. Don't want to be too chintzy with the buddy. Okay, let's open this back up. We're going to get our white layer positioned, hopefully in the exact same spot that we put our black layer in, right? That's our goal, is to get them in the same spot, because we're going to cut these 2 in half and piece them back together. All right, so we've got that. Let's slide this down. Hopefully that dog stops barking. That's one of our visiting dogs. All right, so now that's all inked up with Versamark. Bring that back in. Give that a good push. And we'll pull this out, move that back out of our way. Get our black powder. Put that in and shake. So black on white and white on black. Oh, it looks like I didn't get the stamped images totally at the very top of my tulip. I think it's still going to be okay. So I'm not going to let that stress me out. Because you use the stamp positioning tool, you could go back and stamp that though to fill that in. I would heat emboss it first and then go back and do another layer over it. But that's just my 2 cents on that. Let's see. Get our heat tool hot. Should already be good to go. Okay. And we'll work on our black. Now, the more heat embossing you do, the faster it will go because your tool will be nice and hot. Now, my black powder is old. I will tell you that. So I am still sometimes getting a little bit of flex, residual flex, even though I generously, woo, I cannot say that word, use my buddy. I'm not sure why it wants you to see my feet or my belly. Looks like it's showing you my belly. So it'll work itself out. All right, let's see if that's shiny. Yeah, I'm struggling with my black powder because, like I said, it's old. I don't want to wipe anything off. Okay, I think I'm good. We're going to go with that. All right, let's bring our paper trimmer back in. In case I forgot to say the size of these are dun, 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 3 inches by 4.5. So I'm going to cut them right down the middle at 1.5 inches. So we're going to split each one of these into 2 pieces. So put it right in here at that 1.5. Okay. And I'm going to cut this in half. We're going to do the same thing with this one. So hopefully my placement worked out good. Always bad when you're live and you have a disaster happen. Hopefully it will work out fine and we won't have any issues. We'll find out, won't we? So I've got my two black pieces and I've got my white piece that is going to mesh right in there. Cute. Do you guys like it? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So since my original card has the black on the left, I'll do the black on the right. But now I'm going to be able to make a whole nother card with that, which is amazing. Yay, 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 yay. All right. So I've got a piece of this mesh trim left. I am wanting to adhere that to the front, but I think what I'm going to do first, wipe off my space here. Let's see if we can wipe off our space a little bit. There's chamois. I got loose powder. Loose powder everywhere. I got it on the back of it. Maybe that's part of my issue. I got it on the back. All right. So I am going to take this. I'm butting them together. You could take some Scotch tape if you wanted to, and tack these together. I'm going to tack it together with dimensionals because I'm going to pop up this layer. And I just need it to hold for just a smidge, right? Until I'm ready. Oh, let's see if I can get it to reset again. And I'm going to put some tape runner on the top and bottom of these layers here. And I'm going to take this mesh and I'm straddling that seam just because I thought it added a really cool vibe. That's the only reason. It has no functionality. I'm just going to clip off what I don't need here since my piece ended up extra long. I just thought it added a really cool touch to have that down the seam. Just kind of a cool design element. So, all right, let's go ahead and get some more dimensionals on this. I'm going to be a little bit excessive again because I can, right? I've got plenty of them. I want these to stay together. I'm using some edges. I feel like these are bonus dimensionals because they're my edges, right? All right, let's see if we can get the backing papers off of these. And then we'll layer it onto my black layer that I've got. Yeah, I think it's elegant as well. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it's got such a big impact. And again, you could try this in all kinds of color combinations. I love the black and white. I think it's just gorgeous, but you could do it in so many other color combinations. All right, so this piece here is, make sure I look at the right card. 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. So I'm straying away from my narrow border and I'm doing the 1/8 inch border. And I'm just going to place that right on top. Gives a big impact, right? How awesome is this? Yeah, I think it's a wow as well. I agree. One of my favorites. Okay, we did the hard part. Hard part's done, right? All right, so let's bring in our thick basic white card base. This is 4 1/4 by 11. It was the mood I was in. You could cut your card bases either way. They don't have to be top fold. If you prefer yours on the side, do it on the side. I go in phases, right? Like sometimes I like it top fold, sometimes I like it on the side. It's really up to you. Then I've got a piece of the designer series paper, and because I was going black and white, I chose the black and white print versus a different print. And this is 3 inches by 5 1/2. Okay. And I'm going to lay this down right on my card base here. Now I'm going to leave a little white space over to the left. Doesn't really matter, but I'm not making it totally to the edge. Cute. And then I'm going to put this down flat. Now, if this makes you crazy to run your stamp and seal when you've got dimensions already on there, you can use liquid glue. I just prefer stamp and seal. And I'm centering this top, bottom, left to right, because I think that looks cool, right? Now, I think this would be a really cool wedding card. I'm going to make a sympathy card just because that's what I decided to do. But I think it works well for that as well. So we're bring back in our Memento ink pad. Oh, good, you guys are liking it. Yay! And we're going to stamp our sympathy. I love this cute little label here. And we'll see if I get it somewhere in the middle of the, oh, I did good. Yay. Yay. Good. Love it when it works out. All right, so let's pop this up with some dimensionals as well, right? We've got a few edges left we can still use. So I hope you guys are seeing some cool ways that you can use this line art stamp set or a line art stamp set. It doesn't even have to be this one. Um, Other than having to color it in. I mean, totally can color it in, right? But in this particular suite, we've got some great designer paper we can take advantage of. We've got some cool techniques we can do so that we don't even have to color the images. Or of course, we can color the images. Come on, come back out. All right, there we go. Let's get ourselves a little butterfly here. And I'm going to place that. You know what? I'm going to put it on the white side versus the black side because I think it shows up a little bit more. So flipping that around. Cute, cute, cute. Now, I did not, why, I don't know, but I did not bring my design to the inside. What were we thinking? I think we should have, right? Like, what would you guys do? Would you add designer paper strip? Would you add some stamping of the floral image? What would you do? I'd love to know. You guys have to let me know. Yeah, I love this. I think it's so, so very elegant. And again, you could do this with all kinds of colors. And I turned my designer paper. This way I had it going cross, and this way the print's going up and down. And it does change the appearance a little bit. They're both fabulous, but it does change it. So let me show you all those 3 cards again. So you can see what we've done. So we split it. We did a split panel. We used it in the background, tone on tone, but added the embossing for the shine. And then we utilized the designer series paper, but added a little up step with it by splitting the panel and popping it up. And of course, we have that gorgeous watercolored that I didn't do with you live today, but is on my it's on my YouTube channel. It's on my website as well if you want to see it. And of course, it was embossed on petal paint cardstock. And look at the striking difference it makes once you watercolor it. So again, the key is light water when you're watercoloring on cardstock versus watercolor paper. All right, perfect. Let me switch the camera back over because I want to say goodbye. Right? How did I do time-wise? Oh, I did great. We're within an hour, right? I love it. 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 Oh, I didn't turn off the lights. Well, we'll get to that, right? Good. I hope you guys like it. Oh, I saw an angry face again. Hopefully that's an accident. Lots of good hearts. I'm crying. I hope I didn't make anybody sad. No. All right, perfect. So if you haven't tried the mixed media suite, the products from those, check those out. They may not be something you want, but check them out. They're pretty fantastic. I will tell you that is the product suite that we are also featuring for our April Cultivated Creativity DIY paper crafting kit. So I got sneak peek behind me there, and we are watercoloring. We're watercoloring on watercolor paper, on colored cardstocks. We're doing some whitewashing. We're doing all kinds of fabulous, fabulous things. Yes, the bee trinkets are on the website. When I checked yesterday, they were still unorderable and not supposed to be in yet. So maybe they've popped in and I didn't see that today. I can go look. But yes, I love, 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 love the bee trinkets, and I would totally use those. So I showed you how to use them, but we substituted the butterflies because that's what I have, right? Like we use what's in our crafty stash to create the projects we need to create, right? All right. Perfect. I hope that you guys will create these projects your version, right? Use what papers you have, use what stamps you have, and share them. I'd love to see them. Share and inspire us all in this group, all right? Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Don't forget about the order special. I'll have some reminders that go out. And again, this will be available for replay. So you can watch it again. You can slow it down, whatever you need to do, and have a little crafty fun. So have a great weekend. And hopefully you guys will come back and join me on my YouTube channel on Tuesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. All right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you joining me. And bye for now.